Okay, let's be real. If you've ever tried to go on a diet, you know the struggle. The moment you start cutting calories, it's like a switch flips. Suddenly you're hungry all the time, you feel deprived, and honestly, it can be just plain miserable.
Yeah, this quote from Gravity Transformation just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's that exact feeling that makes most of us throw in the towel. But what if there's a better way to do this? What if you could actually eat food that fills you up, that satisfies you, and still helps you hit your fat loss goals without that constant feeling of starvation? Well, that's exactly the secret we're about to unlock. The entire game changes when you stop obsessing over just the calorie number and you start focusing on this one single powerful concept. And that concept is satiety. It's not magic, it's just biology.
As fitness expert Thomas DeLauer puts it, it's really that simple. Foods that keep you full. Because if you're actually full, you're not fighting the urge to snack or overeat. Dieting suddenly becomes something that happens in the background, not this constant battle in your head.
And this is the key. We're not just talking about stuffing your stomach. We're talking about finding foods that create a lasting feeling of fullness. Foods that send signals to your brain saying, hey, we're good here. No need for cravings.
And how do you find those foods? Well, it all comes down to these three pillars. You want to hunt for foods that are high in protein, high in fiber, and have a high water content. These are your new best friends. They digest slower and literally take up more physical space in your stomach for way fewer calories.
So now that we know the why, let's get into the what. It's time to build our toolkit, our low-calorie arsenal. These are the go-to foods that will let you put this whole satiety secret into practice every single day. We're going to break it down into 3 simple groups that line up perfectly with our pillars. We've got meal foundations. These are your high-water, high-fiber volume foods. Then the protein powerhouses. And finally, my favorite, the flavor boosters. These are the secret weapons that make everything taste amazing for basically 0 calories. Okay, let's kick things off with meal foundations. And seriously, just look at these numbers. They're kind of mind-blowing. These are your volume fillers. We're talking about foods with over 90% water content. Things like cucumbers, celery, zucchini, they literally activate the stretch receptors in your stomach, telling your brain you're full, but for an insanely small calorie price. Now for our second pillar, protein. Thomas DeLauer gives us the ultimate metric here. You can pretty much forget everything else and just focus on this one thing, the protein to calorie ratio. This is the single most important number for finding foods that keep you full and protect your muscle while you're losing fat. And here's a perfect example. A product like Oikos 000 Greek yogurt gives you about 17 grams of protein for every 100 calories. Now, compare that to a regular egg, which is still great, or just standard yogurt. You can see right away that for satiety, that Greek yogurt is just on another level. And finally, flavor. Let's be honest, a bland diet is a failed diet, period. But you don't need to drown your food in high-calorie dressings. A little hot sauce, some mustard, a big spoonful of salsa, these can totally change your meal with almost no caloric damage at all. Okay, so our arsenal is stocked, but the real power, the real magic, comes from knowing how to use these foods. So let's look at how a few simple substitutions, what we'll call smart swaps, can make a massive, massive impact on your day. So let's take pasta. A normal serving of pasta is going to set you back around 300 calories. But what if you swap that for shirataki noodles? They're made from a special kind of fiber. You get the same volume, that same pasta experience, for about 20 calories. I mean, it's almost hard to believe. Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. That is a 93% drop in calories from one simple swap. This is what we mean by eating smarter, not less. You still get to eat a huge, satisfying plate of noodles, but your calorie intake just plummets.
And you know, it's not always about swapping things out. It's also about smart additions. A great trick is to add mushrooms to things like burgers or a stir-fry. They're loaded with something called beta-glucans, a soluble fiber that slows down digestion and just makes that whole meal feel way more filling.
All right, now, before you run out and fill your cart with diet soda and these so-called magic noodles, we've got to talk about the fine print, because not all 0-calorie heroes wear capes.
This is the question everybody has, right? Are there hidden downsides? Is all of this too good to be true? Let's tackle some of the biggest concerns head-on.
First up, the big one, diet soda. We all have that one friend, maybe his name is Kevin, who insists it's the worst thing for you.
But as Ryan Humiston points out, when you look at the actual science from credible places like cancer.org, that big scary link just isn't there. For fat loss, it can be a really helpful tool to kill a sugar craving.
Next up, vegetables. While they are amazing, some of them can cause some serious discomfort. Cruciferous veggies like broccoli and cauliflower have a complex sugar in them called raffinose that our bodies struggle to break down. The result, painful gas and bloating. So if you're feeling that, it's a smart move to stick to the easier to digest stuff.
And now for a very direct warning, courtesy of Ryan Humiston. Those shiitake noodles we just talked about and some of those zero-calorie dressings, yeah, they can have a really potent laxative effect if you go overboard. They work, but seriously, moderation is key unless you want to spend your entire day in the bathroom. So, to wrap this all up, here's your 4-step game plan. Number 1, make satiety your main goal. Hunt for protein and fiber in everything. 2, bulk up all your meals with those high-water veggies. 3, swap, don't sacrifice. Find those smart substitutions for the foods you love. And finally, number 4, always read the fine print to avoid any, explosive situations.
Look, the whole point here is to change your mindset. This isn't about restriction, it's about empowerment. When you focus on satiety, you can build a sustainable way to eat that actually gets you results, without all the misery. So the real question is, how are you going to use this secret?